You want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered. And this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't gonna be that fun. Hey everybody, welcome to the Doug Collins Podcast. It is Friday's Finest. It is Friday, and yes, we do remember it is Friday. You'll understand that later. If you've not been watching the news in the last 24 hours, we actually know what day it is and what country we're sort of bordered beside Mexico and Canada. But hey, our president don't understand that, but we're okay with that. Chip and I'll discuss that here in just a few minutes. We got James on board. We got Super Bowl weekend. We have everything that you want to know, prop bets, looking at what's going to happen. Will Taylor Swift actually make it? Yes, we think she will. And she had to sell a jet. Taylor had to sell a jet. That's tough. We're looking at a lot of things for this weekend. It's a great week to be here. Also, frankly, another issue you had to discuss, it was an old book that we used to read to our kids. What was it? Something about the terrible, awful, worst day. Well, that was Joe Biden's day yesterday. Chip and I are going to get into that, not only from the Supreme Court to his own foot and mouth disease to the special counsel's report. Lots of things going on. We will spend a little bit of time there this morning. You got to hear it, but then we're going to get into some fun because it is Super Bowl weekend here on Friday's Finest. We'll be back right after the break. Hey, folks, when you look out and you see the country and just the disarray it is, you see the Biden administration, you see the wholesale prices have just went through the roof again. Inflation is tearing us up. If you have your finances all impinged in just a few areas, if you're just in stocks and bonds and you're not diversified, I got some news for you. You need a navigator. You need somebody to help you get to where you need to go with those finances. And I can't think of anybody better to do that than my friends at Legacy Precious Metals. You need precious metals in that portfolio. You need gold and silver. And Legacy Precious Metals, the folks there, they're the navigators. They know how to deal with tough times. They know and how to look ahead and take your personal situation and make it something that can be workable for you in the long term, because that's at the end of the day, that's the one you're most concerned about. You need to make sure that your personal finances and your retirement are secure. You need folks like Legacy Precious Metals helping you in that. They will take the time to learn you. They'll learn your finances. They'll learn where your investment goals are, and they'll help you get there. And metals and gold right now in this kind of crazy inflation, in this kind of crazy economy with the Biden's economy is just, you need that help. And Legacy Precious Metals is the one to do that. So give Legacy Precious Metals a call, 866-528-1903, 866-528-1903, or you can always visit them online at legacypminvestments.com, and you can download their free investor's guide. Legacy Precious Metals, they're the ones you need. They're the navigators to help you through these turbulent times. Hey, everybody, Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank all of my listeners, the great Doug Collins podcast listeners, for your continued support. To thank you, they're offering an overstocked clearance sale right now for the best price you ever use when you use the promo code Collins, COLLINS, and you get free shipping on the entire order. You get 50% off the MyPillow 2.0, the brand new flannel sheets that just arrived and won't last long. Get six-pack towel sets for only $29.98 and take advantage of the free shipping on larger items like mattresses and mattress toppers. 100% made here in the United States and on sale for as low as $99. Everything is on sale, from the brand new kitchen towels that have the same technology as the bath towels that actually absorb, dog beds, blankets, couch pillows, and much, much more. To get the best specials ever, go to the mypillow.com, and use the promo code Collins, COLLINS, or call 800-986-3994 and use the same keyword Collins, COLLINS, and get free shipping on your entire order while supplies last. MyPillow products, thank you. Y'all go check them out. James?
Ready for it to happen.
James, you with us?
I'm with you. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. All right, we're going to start off this morning, though. Chip and we're going to talk about a little bit of what was, as I said in the intro, Chip, if this was normal, Chip, I'm going to go off to a normal, if this was a normal election in any sense of the imagination. Yesterday would have finished Joe Biden, wouldn't it?
Yeah, look, it was a bad day for Joe Biden yesterday. I mean, Robert Hur's report comes out, a scathing report, right? He was the special investigator that was appointed to look into Biden's handling of classified documents. And, the only good news in the report is, he agreed not to prosecute the president for mishandling of classified information, but he called him, and I forget the exact words, but I'll paraphrase, Doug, and a very polite elderly gentleman who struggles with memory loss, who couldn't remember what years he was vice president. He couldn't remember what year his son Beau died, and I think that I think even more scathing in that report was the fact that Biden lied to the special investigator about sharing these classified documents with his ghostwriter. He said he did not. And the prosecutor came to a different conclusion. And by the way, the same day that this happens, the Supreme Court holds a hearing on the Colorado case to keep Trump off the ballot. And I mean, I'd be surprised if it doesn't come back 9-0. The Colorado Supreme Court aired. And so, yeah, look, if this was a normal election cycle, you stick a fork in Joe Biden yesterday. But as we know, this is anything but normal. And so, what's become normal is very different in today's world.
Oh, I agree. Also, I think really, frankly, you would have also, and I still think to this moment, except for a little bit, they're going to circle the wagons. The Democrats are around Biden for a little bit. But you got to think that, we've made a joke about it here on the podcast that Gavin Newsom had to go to the closet, get his shirts out and put them to the dry cleaners because, he is looking at this. You got Kamala Harris, the vice president. There's been you talk about a hilarious set of memes on the internet. Yeah, Joe, go have a press conference. Go do it. And nobody wants her. The Democrats don't want her. That's how bad this is. Let me I think go into this a little bit deeper though, because this is disturbing, and it was infuriating last night at that press conference. I actually had for those who were watching last night, and I had some tweets about it. I did Fox News Live last night, and we were supposed to talk about the Nevada caucus, which, by the way, Trump, of course, we knew was going to take all the delegates, and he did because Nikki Haley didn't even register for the caucus, and she got beat by none of the above 2 days earlier. But hey, that's the way it goes. But it ended up with this story, and it was my hit was right at 8 by the time he actually started speaking. So I actually had to watch most of this press conference, and I just got mad, and I looked at it because come out and say, hey, there's some issues, but then he got mad, and this is classic. And again, I am not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV. I'm just stating personal facts from my life. Okay. I've had I was a pastor for over 11 years. I've been in this for a long time with an elderly congregation. I know what it looks like with the onset of dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever you want to call it. Okay. One of those, or several of those, are very obvious in Joe Biden. The shuffling of the feet, the looking down when he walks, the balance issue. All of those it doesn't mean that he's actually, I'm not saying he doesn't know where he's at all the time. He probably does, but there are moments you can tell. The other big issue, Chip, and this one came out last night, he is the fly off the handle, the get mad and explode. I had very close family members. This was the most heart-wrenching part of their illness, was that if they didn't remember something or if they felt isolated or trapped, they would lash out. And he is doing that more and more and more. And he did it last night with the press. But then I made this comment, Chip, and we put it out, and it was discussed. Somebody needs to be fired over this. At some point, he has a staff for that reason. His press secretary is basically, we've thought about for a long time, just incompetent. Karine Jean-Pierre is just incompetent. But somebody on that staff, where was Jill? Where was Jill? That was, yeah. I don't know. How do you're a top-notch consultant. How do you let your candidate go out and do that?
Well, my thought was, where was Jill too? Because, as you know, Doug, it very well could have been, maybe the staff didn't want him to do that, and it's something he decided he wanted to do. And we haven't even talked about the fact that he made the mistake by conflating the president of Mexico. I guess he's thinking of Mexico so much with what's handing down to the border. But yeah, look, I mean, and we know exactly why he turned down the opportunity to have an interview at the Super Bowl, which is extended every year to a sitting president. And for the second year in a row, he's declined that offer, and it looks like it was the right decision. But, I mean, for Democrats that think that this guy's got 4 more years in the tank, I mean, if they can get him to November, they've done a good job.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I agree with your assessment. I'm not making light of it. I mean, look, I turned 51 last month. I get frustrated when I forget stuff, and I don't have nearly as much in my head. And I'm telling you, I mean, as we get older, Doug, I mean, I'm not as, you age, right? I'm not, they say, 50 is the new 40. I don't believe that, and this guy's, it's just, it's sad on a human level, but, even more for the country, it just doesn't look like it's sustainable. And I feel like we're watching a slow motion train wreck.
Yeah, I agree. What's bothersome is look, we all make, mess ups. We, like last time, I think it was Jesse Waters on Fox said, he introduced Kristi Noem as the governor of South Carolina, not South Dakota. I mean, look, we all screw up things like that. That's it. The part that I think the Democrats are just sticking their head in the sand over is this is not an every other thing occurrence. This is not a once in a while. This is becoming all the time. And, at moments, and even in that speech last night, when I'm sure he's had a cup of coffee, he's looking at the teleprompter, he's doing it. But where you could really tell that he was struggling to put his answer together. And this is where I don't understand why they didn't stop the press conference. He was walking off. He was already mad. He walked off, and they said something about Hamas and the hostages. And he turned around and went back. And this was, folks, if you're watching online, this is it. This is his stuff. I have my good guns and ammo, but he had his briefing. He comes back and he looks at this and he opens it, and you can see he says, I have been, and he's looking down the whole time. Okay. He's gathering his thoughts as best he can at that moment, which is, look, I've been there. You get asked a question, you want to answer it, but and then the first words out of his mouth was throw Israel under the bus. It's been an overreaction in Gaza. At that point in time, there will be, massive shots being taken in the back, room. And he's like, oh my God, we're going to spend the rest of our time. But he went ahead and topped that one. They didn't have to worry about that one being the top of the list because then he, like you said, he messed up the name of Mexico and, instead of Egypt. Okay, they both have pyramids, but, okay, there's a problem there, okay?
Yeah.
But it just reinforced – here was my problem with it. Let him go because he had already spoken on TV to the Democratic House members earlier in the afternoon, and I saw part of that speech. It was the same kind of speech. He said, we've been exonerated, everything's great. Let him go to bed. If you wanted to have a press conference, do it this morning. Do it when he's possibly got more time to think about it and not mad about his son. I get that. And Chip, there was an issue in our very first campaign you and I dealt together. When they would bring up that one issue where I served at one point, you would have to walk me off the wall almost every time. And, and it was because it was just one of those issues, outside of my family, you just didn't touch without me being upset about it. I get that. As a candidate, I get that. But that's why I had you. That's why I had others around me to say, hey, boss, I understand it. Doug, I get it. But you can't go there. You're baiting it. So, again, this is the part that is the issue. I still believe they're going to try and stick with him. But you have to say now, we've at least gotten into a 40 or 50% possibility that within the next couple of weeks, Joe Biden steps out and says, does the Lyndon Johnson and says, I'm not running.
Well, here's the problem with that, Doug. And I don't dispute that that's a possibility, but from everything that I have read, and I'm not an attorney, but from everything that I have read, you know, we know the process has started in the caucus and the primary season, but at this point in time, you know, people are voting for, you know, they're well, no, that's actually not the case. I was just gonna say people are voting for Biden Harris, but that's actually the formality of the nominations for the vice president happens at the convention, and so strike that thought. But you know, what do you do from a legal perspective? How do you do that? How do you go back and determine? How do you go have a competitive primary? I mean, it does seem like something that would have to happen at a convention.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and then what do you do? Do you not pick Kamala Harris, and then you have problem with African American women who are going to be upset if you pick somebody else. I mean, they're in a tough spot.
The good part about it for them is they have a convention buffering them. So they can go to the convention, because that's the actual formality of putting a Democrat candidate or Republican candidate on the ballot, okay? Because the Democratic Party, Republican Party have ballot access to every state. There's no issue there. That's the formality of putting it on. I think the issue you get into is if you thought and the chaos of the Chicago Convention in '68 was bad, wait till the 2024 chaos of this convention. If they don't have –
Can you imagine? Can you imagine what that would be like if those convention delegates got to choose the nominee of their party on a floor vote?
Oh, yeah. It's just – I just don't see this happening.
It could happen. It could happen.
Well, it's always been set up that way because Democrats, unlike Republicans, have always played with the mechanism of their delegate count. They have for the last 5 or 6 years. We knew that with Hillary Clinton versus Bernie Sanders. We knew that it was set up for Hillary to start with, these super delegates and everything else, and they made some adjustments. I mean, one of the ones that speaks eloquently about this is Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi, and I know Tulsi's a good friend, and Tulsi has said, look, the Democratic Party is the one that screws most of this over because they still control all of that mechanisms, whereas the Republicans, and this is another issue we're not probably going to talk about today, Ronna McDaniel looks to be stepping down fairly soon from the Republican Party. I'm surprised she's not done it before. But we don't have that kind of continuity of a party that, irregardless of who's the chair, there's this structure that keeps it somewhat in the bounds. We just don't have that in the Republican Party. They do in the Democratic Party. And I think that's going to be the interesting issue. Real quick, I think also you made headlines about the Supreme Court case. Yeah, it's 8-1, 7-2 at absolute worst. 9-0 is what you're going to see, and I still think though they're going to kick it on a. I don't think they're going to come right out and say the 14th Amendment doesn't apply today or that section doesn't apply, but I think they'll do something that will be more technical than it is legal. But either way, and if they do that, it's 9-0. If they do that, it's 9-0. If Justice Roberts or some of the others try to make it a more legal case, then you could get into the 7-2, 8-1, depending on how you go at it. But look, the more liberal leaning justices yesterday had the hardest questions for the Colorado folks. I know this Colorado attorney. It's a great honor to go before the Supreme Court, and I get it. But I hope they either paid him a ton of money or promised him a lot of business in the future, because that was brutal. I've been to
that was
bad.
Yeah,
bad.
That was a brutal takedown, no question about it.
Yeah, I listened to Gorsuch ask his questions, and I thought, honestly, I was back in law school and I was getting sweats. I mean, it was, no, don't change the hypothetical. That's not what I told you. I asked you this. Don't change the hypothetical. I do it. I know it. I understand, but that's not what I'm asking. It's like, oh God, please.
It was. I think even Jake Tapper at CNN, after I think CNN and Fox covered it live, and Jake Tapper, who was the host whose show was kind of preempted by the coverage, he came on and he said, all right, we have our panel here, and I think we can all agree that the Secretary of State's office in Colorado should not be popping champagne as a result of the coverage, as a result of the hearing today in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
When CNN says that, you're you're cooked.
Yeah, you're cooked. And the Maine Secretary of State ought to be even worse. I mean, because she actually did it with nobody inputting into it. So anyway, folks, look, we can't stop today. I mean, we can't start today without going over this, but it does ring true. This is going to become a defining moment, no matter how you talk about it. Yesterday is a defining moment in this presidential race. Independents who may despise Donald Trump, it'll be hard for me to see that. What was it, 2 weeks ago or a week ago, Chip, you and I brought this up. And I said the last week and a half of this campaign to 2 weeks of this campaign will be, do you vote for Joe Biden knowing that you're going to probably get Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? And I think that's going to become the issue. Now, it's not even a thinking part of the issue. It is the issue. And, again, when you have Democrats actually, behind the scenes mentioning the 25th Amendment, that's a problem. And so I think the Trump team in this case, and who I believe is definitely the Republican nominee, I think can win this. There should be a momentary, okay, we see this. This is very much of an opening if the Democrats keep going down this line. But now they have to honestly start looking at who else they could be going against. I think and if it's Harris, great. But if it's a Manchin, which I think Manchin may have blown his bridges up here, but if it's a Manchin or a Newsom, even Newsom provides some nuance here. Or Beshears out of Kentucky? Those a whole different race. It's a whole different race at that point.
Yeah, but I think, I agree with that, Doug. But I think the Beshears and the Manchins, the Democrat Party's not smart enough to nominate those guys. They're just not. I mean, and those guys also don't fit into a box. Right. I mean, they don't fit into the box where the Democratic Party is today. I think, Newsom fills largely into that box. But I'm telling you, I mean, you right now have an African-American vice president.
Yep.
If Joe Biden decides he's not going to accept the nomination and you don't put forward an African-American female, there's going to be some problems. And, there's going to be some problems with that.
Yep. As he likes to say, our favorite president would say, that'd be huge. I mean, it would be huge.
Yeah. I mean, look, they've made the entire genesis of their party internally is identity politics. I mean, let's face it, they love it. I mean, and so, it defines them. You can't, I just don't know how they can do that. And the chaos that would erupt in that convention, I mean, it would be pay-per-view.
I'd watch it. That's for sure. I'd watch it in a heartbeat. Anyway, there'll be a lot more to be said about this. In fact, Chip and I may actually do an episode or two later just by ourselves, just on more or less talking about this. We're going to get it off of Friday's Finest. But they could not start the day on Friday's Finest without discussing what could be I'm going back to like New Hampshire in '68, really, when Lyndon Johnson got out. This is the big moment kind of thing, because Biden has no opposition for the nomination. The only reason he would lose is himself at this point, and I think that could have got pulled last night as we go about it. All right, Chip, let's bring in James, our New Jerseyan by the way of Texas. James, what's going on in the world today?
Oh, nothing. Just scrolling the internet while you guys are talking. I really, really, really sometimes just wish I was a player's wife. You don't have to do anything. You just show up. You do the shoot.
Oh, wow.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at this like it's like, the part of the competitive part of me wants to be the athlete, but the guy who sees the homes they're in just wants to be the one sitting in there all day. I'm so sick of this life.
Folks, that's why you turn into Friday's Finest. You never know what James is going to be up to next, baby.
Went from hard-hitting news about Biden's incompetency and then straight to James wanting to be a player's wife.
Chip, he's went to Dallas, Fort Worth, and he thinks he's going to find JR somewhere. I mean, that's right. Oh my God, I love it. Hey, before you get settled into your mansion, okay? We've got some discussion. Before we get to the Super Bowl, which is weekend, let's discuss last night's NFL Honors Awards. How do you name
Joe Flacco?
how do you name a GM other than the Texas GM is not GM of the year when you have both rookies of the year, offensive and defensive, are your first two picks in the last draft?
Okay, I didn't see who the GM was. Can I take a guess before you answer? Is it Detroit's GM?
Nope.
Then who is it?
It is. It was Cleveland.
Give me a break. What? Because they picked up Joe Flacco at the end of the season?
Well, I know that.
Fourth choice.
Yeah, the comeback. Oh, by the way, comeback player of the year was Joe Flacco.
Yeah, man. Joe Flacco should just give that award to DeMar Hamlin. DeMar Hamlin literally came back to life, guys. It's not a discussion. If Joe Flacco had brought his team to the Super Bowl, fine. We'd all live with it. But he didn't. He came back from sitting out a couple months, a year. DeMar Hamlin came back from the dead. That's comeback play. That's not even up for debate.
Yeah, who can argue with that? I mean,
I agree. I may be wrong, but it was Stefanski, the Cleveland coach.
Stefanski got the head coach. That I'm fine with. Whatever. I can move on from that.
But I think that was sort of indicated. And there may not have been a GM, but it's like.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I may be wrong on that, but I mean, even still, with Stefanski getting coach of the year, I mean,
it should have been Dan Campbell.
DeMeco Ryans. I mean, they had
DeMeco Ryans and Dan Campbell are the only answers.
Yeah,
I know that the Browns had a tough year, but and they had a lot of injuries, and I totally understand that. He did a great job coaching. Detroit went to the NFC Championship game, guys.
I agree.
It's not a debate. Anyway, Lamar Jackson is the only right answer for whatever because it's a quarterback award, and you couldn't give it to Mahomes this year. So I'm not going to fight that.
He got 49 out of 50 first-place votes, Chip. And
Stroud
got 48 out of 50. Stroud got 48 out of 50. How about Myles Garrett for defensive? How about Myles Garrett, defensive player of the year?
That's deserving. I can't think of anybody else who really deserved it over him. My question is, why did Puka Nacua not get more votes? I'm sorry. I get that C.J. Stroud was the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But you could argue that Puka Nacua was the best wide receiver in the league next to Tyreek Hill this season.
Yeah, he won a quarterback.
Yeah, I just think it's like the Heisman Trophy, James. It's kind of a quarterback award, right?
Right. No, I get that. Just give him more votes. That's my problem.
100%.
I'm not saying he should get the award. C.J. Stroud took them to the playoffs by himself. I get that. But you got to somebody should have been like, hey, Puka needs more.
Well, Puka was certainly the story of the year. I mean, Puka Nacua and Joe Flacco. I mean, Joe Flacco at the tail end of the season, Puka all year. I mean, from out of nowhere, a late round pick in the draft to be able to do what he did, under that offense too. I mean, that offense was horrid last year. Helped resurrect it, with a Matt Stafford who was a year older.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford is getting more credit every single day he plays football.
Yeah.
He just anyway, continue.
Okay. Interesting enough, the player breakdown, the reason Flacco won is they had, you rank it first, second, and third. Flacco got 13 first place, 26 second place, and 8 third place. DeMar Hamlin got 21 first place votes, only 7 second place, and 14 third place.
Well, that's pretty close.
Yeah, it's 151 to 140.
Oh wow, that's as close as it's ever been, I think.
Yeah, you know who was third?
Well, I mean, last year Geno Smith just came back from being bad, so we're giving the award to anybody, I guess.
You know who was third?
Baker Mayfield?
Baker Mayfield.
Wow.
Yeah, another one came back from being bad.
McCaffrey was offensive player of the year.
I still think the offensive player of the year award is so stupid. It drives me nuts. If he's the offensive player of the year, then he's the MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah, God forbid we forget the other 11 people on the field called the defense. But
Tell me, listen, there's years where I get frustrated because I'm like, Micah Parsons could have won MVP last year. That's how good he was at football. There was a year where J.J. Watt listen, we can talk about J.J. Watt. That man probably should have won an MVP somewhere because the Texans had the worst quarterbacks, and he took them to divisional playoff rounds. So anyway, it doesn't matter. The awards are ridiculous. They're pointless. It's like the Hall of Fame for basketball at this point.
Yeah, they got. By the way, the Peyton Award went to the Cameron Hayward out of Pittsburgh.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. I like him.
The Walter Payton Man of the Year.
You see that Devin Hester's going to be in the Hall of Fame? I love that so much. I know he played for Chicago, but listen, I do believe. Listen, if you're going to give it's like not acknowledging a position. That's a position, and he ran back the most kicks, and he dominated every time he touched the football when he was in that. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It's a stupid thing not to put him in there. So I'm glad that the NFL did the right thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the Hall of Fame class. Let's see who was the rest of the Hall of Fame class.
Julius Peppers, Andre Johnson. I didn't see who. I can look real quick. I just know that those two were the headline.
Andre Johnson made it. That's interesting.
I think he deserved it, man. That's another one. He again with no quarterbacks.
Here it
destroyed
is.
Everyone.
Dwight Freeney, Andre Johnson, Randy Gradishar, Patrick Willis, Steve McMichael, Devin Hester, and Julius Peppers.
Oh, man. Remember when Patrick Willis retired and everyone was like, but you have 9 years of football left.
Yeah.
I would play 10 years and be out too. Well, I'm going to get a concussion after I made all that money? No, thanks.
Okay, I'm just making a comment about here. This is probably one of the least headliner classes of Hall of Fame I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I mean, Julius Peppers
I get it. And McMichael from the old Bears.
One of the best, but yes, I hear you. No, for sure. Because last year was headed by Calvin Johnson, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, we don't have any quarterback. We had no big quarterback. So
yeah, no big names.
Tom Brady will be soon, and we'll all talk about that for 12 hours a day, 20 hours a week, and it'll just make me want to punch a hole in a wall.
He didn't play for Green Bay. Give me a break. you Minnesota guy. All right, let's turn our attention to the main thing this weekend. We have the Super Bowl, West Coast, San Francisco, Midwest, Kansas City. A lot of storylines here. Chip, I think you and James had some interesting prop bets, interesting things going on here. What is the line, by the way? I don't even know what the line on the game is.
I think. Well, it's 2. It opened at 2.5. It immediately went to 1.5, and now it's kind of settled around 2. And so I am waiting to see if it bumps back down to 1.5 before I get any action on it, because I want to buy the half point to get it down to 1 and take the 49ers. But right now it's at 2 points.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting. James, what's an interesting prop bet on that one that you see?
Well, I'm looking at this. Obviously, you have your regular old, heads, tails, what color's the Gatorade going to be. I'm looking here. It doesn't have any really fun ones yet. I think they're going to probably come out.
They'll come out probably Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, some of the regular ones that that were interesting were will there be a touchback? Who's betting on that? I mean, not touchback.
Yeah.
Through the end zone. I hope that happens.
Yeah, Look, it is. So there are only 2 NBA games on Sunday. You got the Celtics and the Heat in Miami, and then you got the Kings and Thunder in Oklahoma City. But a pick 'em bet is who will have more, Tyler Harrow 3-point field goals Well, the 49ers and Chiefs field goals combined, it's
wow.
So we're talking about Tyler Hero hitting like 5 threes,
yeah.
which I think he averages like 4 or 5.
I think
could
he
be wrong about
averages,
that.
around 4.
So that is such a killer because that night he's going to be like 0 for 10.
Yeah.
He's going to have the worst night of his life, and the Chiefs are going to kick 1 field goal.
Jimmy Butler points or the 49ers and Chiefs first half points combined. Which one would you
Oh,
do?
my God.
Like
That's so tough. Because
Yeah.
there's nights where Jimmy Butler just gives you 15, but he has like 12 assists and 10 rebounds.
Yeah.
I hate that. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I can't gamble. I would be in that.
Oh, it's just the great thing is if you are a gambler, this is the one game all year in any sport where you can bet on anything. I mean, you can bet on anything. You can bet on the largest lead of the game, over 13.5 points. You can bet on which team's going to call the timeout first.
What about
I love
the length
that.
of what about what's the over under on the length of the national anthem? Which,
Oh,
by the
let me
way,
look that up.
was last year.
Yeah, that comes. I think those props come out on Saturday. So
What's that?
That's going to piss me off. Wait, who's doing the national anthem this year? Wait, they just
I
said
heard.
it. Yeah.
I don't know. I hadn't heard either. Yeah.
Let me hold on. Let me find out.
One of the besides Whitney Houston, the best anthem was last year, and he came to within 1 second of the over under. People were like,
They're so close with it. They're so close with it.
this is 58. We're at Super Bowl 58, right?
yeah.
While you're looking that up, James, I'm scrolling. I'll give you guys a couple examples of 49ers quarterback sacks made in the game, over under 2.5. Chiefs longest punt of the game, over 54.5, under 54.5. I mean, stuff like that. I mean,
it's Eba.
Yeah, will it be a score in the first 6 minutes and 30 seconds of the game? That's a pretty even bet right now. So I mean, look, there's something for everybody in the Super Bowl.
Oh my Lord, yeah, it is.
Reba McEntire over or under. Reba's probably going to go under. Would be my guess. You know how I was introduced to Reba McEntire in my life?
Oh, Reba's doing the national anthem?
Yeah.
It'll be under.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, under. So you guys are older than me, so you guys remember her from the beginning as a singer, right?
We're fancy. Yeah, we're fancy like that, James.
I was introduced to her as the race car driver at the end of the Little Rascals movie.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea that she was a singer. Then I saw her on TV on the Reba show, and then someone was like, "She sings," and I'm like, "That's dumb. No, she doesn't." And then I was a kid, obviously, and then I found out, and I was like, "Mom, did you know she's a singer?" She's like, "Yeah, you're an idiot." I think it's funny the way I'm introduced to Reba, knowing she's one of the most famous singers on the planet, and I'm like, "Yeah, she's the race car driver at the end of the Little Rascals."
Okay. All right, James, you succeeded in getting a 15-second timeout for that one.
I'm from New Jersey. We don't even know what country music is.
I was watching the Blues Brothers movie the other night. We've had some stuff here at the house, and Lisa and the girls, they got to pick the movie, and the Blues Brothers movie, they went to the Bob's, the country bar, and he said, "What kind of music do you play here?" She said, "We play both, country and western." I love it. Hey,
man.
Before we get into football a little bit more, though, we got to discuss, one of the best parts of the Super Bowl is the ads. And they're bringing it back out again this year. Jennifer Aniston, David Schwimmer for Uber Eats. It also, and I don't understand this, so maybe y'all have to help me out on this. Something about forgetting. Anyway, this couldn't have happened for a worse moment for Joe Biden, by the way. Making fun of people forgetting. And the sort of the discussion here is Aniston forgets her friend, who her friend's co-star David Schwimmer is, in the spot for Uber Eats, which also features Victoria Beckham, a.k.a. Posh Spice, forgetting the name of the Spice Girls along with her husband, David Beckham. They say, was it the Basil Babes? Or
So you understand why they're in it, though? Do you understand why? Did you see the thing, the video where he's like, "Tell the truth," the Beckham video?
I didn't see that.
So they had like a documentary, and Victoria is
about her
saying that
going to school.
Right, growing up, like she grew up middle class, and he's like, "What did your dad drive? What kind of car did your dad drive?" She's like, "A Range Rover." He's like, "Yeah, exactly. Shut up." You know what though? I do know a lot. I'm from North Jersey, and there's a lot of rich people in North Jersey, and they don't know that they grew up with money. They're delusional. So I do understand that some people have no idea that they were rich.
You got Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, is in for State Farm this year.
Oh, good. We get to hear his voice.
Yeah,
actually, I love it.
And they play off of the fact he can't say an R.
I love that. Wait, now, all right, but all right. Am I the only one who's like, can we wait for the commercials to come out?
Yeah.
They keep
I'm with you, James. But I guess if these advertisers are spending the dollars they're spending to get time on the Super Bowl, they want to squeeze all they can out of it. But I'm with you. I long for the days when we had to wait to see, and it was a surprise.
Oh, yeah. Well, they put them out on Friday. They put them out on Thursday or Friday because, just like you said, Chip, they're now getting in the YouTube. They're getting because think about it. If you have a Super Bowl party, you have people. I mean. Some may watch the ads, some may watch it later. They're actually paying for the outside the game time experiment. What'll be really interesting?
I get it.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you got it.
No, I think it's ridiculous that I get if there's one or two ads that leak, but there's 9 ads out there. So when I watch it, I'm gonna be. I already saw it. What's the point? I already saw this.
It's your time to go get snacks, James.
I don't want to get snacks. I want to be surprised by Super Bowl commercials. Remember when we were it wasn't that long ago that they had those incredible Doritos commercials? I haven't seen a good Doritos commercial in a year. Remember the one where the mouse came through the wall and attacked that guy? That's one of the funniest commercials I've ever seen. But I saw it that day, and then I remembered it forever.
Okay, I do have one to bring up though, and without being specific about it, what we'll do is talk about this because I think it is an interesting run because it has a political connotation to it as well that really hadn't been expected. Remember last year, and this is where sports and everything blends, Bud Light decided to tank its brand by giving a can to Dylan Mulvaney. The rest of the year, their sales have been off 30, 40%, 10 to 15%, 20% off all year. Recently, Bud Light has been going back to sort of the basics, if you would, and also taking in a lot of sports figures to bring back their brand. Okay. They have used Dana White in the Big Deal where they've actually kicked Modelo off of the UFCs. It's now Bud Light. Dana White basically told everybody to go shove it. I sort of like Dana White. But then you also had, frankly, you've had Don Jr., you've had, and just in the last week, former President Trump, who have sort of weighed in on that. And they're going to be back this year. Budweiser, from all indications, these ads are going to be traditional Budweiser, Bud Light kind of ads. My question to you is, and James, I want two perspectives here. Chip, I want you on the political perspective. And James, I want you on the general public perspective. Let's go to James, you first. General public perspective on these Bud Light ads. Will it work to help them gain back market share?
Yeah, I think.
Or have they hurt themselves too much?
I have a problem because I think people get too hung up on stuff. Listen, I didn't care about the Dylan Mulvaney thing at all. I didn't stop drinking beer because there was a person I guess I just didn't care enough that Kid Rock was shooting Bud Light with a gun.
Okay, James, let me ask you a question. James, let me ask you a question right there, though. And I'm, and you don't have to say, but was Bud Light one of your choices for beer?
No, at one point, it was, but but like it's not going to change because of their ads.
Okay,
You know why?
okay.
I drink Bud Light? Because it's
Well, did
$5.
it change? So you were saying you would have bought a Bud Light this past year. It didn't matter what they did.
No, and the reason it didn't matter to me is because I don't think that companies that. All right, so they made some questionable choices as far as their like actual decision making. That doesn't change their beer. It's still the cheapest thing I can get at the bar. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess it's just like what are we? I guess I'm just. What are we worried about? If it really concerns you that much, don't drink it. Move on.
Yeah.
But they also have done a full revamp too, which obviously means things went to hell. But I think they got Shane Gillis as a supporter now for them.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, like they're making changes, but they're going in the complete opposite direction, which I just think just leave it alone and see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for it to work just because like to me it was such a silly thing to get everybody up in arms about. But I'm young, I don't care. I'm going to drink beer regardless. Unless the guy was like, "Hey, we support O.J. Simpson," I don't really care. It's not a big deal to me.
Yeah.
I think it's because I'm young.
James just defended every bar in the country who sells Busch Light at a much cheaper price to start with. So, hey.
Yeah, like what we had. What do we have? The 30 racks that just were called Beer 30. Those were like $12.
I remember
it was a purple box, and I remember we were. I mean, I know this is odd, but we were in high school, guys. But yeah, we would go to our weird guy. His name was Wolf. I don't want to have this conversation totally, but there was a guy. His name was Wolf. He used to get us beer at high school, and we'd be like, "Give us the cheapest they have," and he'd walk out, and it's a purple box, and it just says Beer 30. There is nothing else on it, a couple of bubbles, and then we hid it in our parents' shit in the wintertime.
Okay,
Yeah, we're weird.
For those of you who are watching this show, as James' attorney, James may or may not have been ad-libbing there. James may or may not have been thinking about something that he did or did not remember. So this is your legal classification here for James's current story about underage drinking. Thank you all for tuning in.
Come take me if you want.
All right, Chip. Let's flip this over to the realist, because now you really have an issue. Okay, and I appreciate James's perspective. It's sort of my son's and several others' perspective as well. But you now have an issue in conservative Republican world that the leaders are now saying, "Hey, give them another chance." And we've seen that Donald Trump still carries a great deal of weight on a lot of issues with this base. And Bud Light now is, and they're coming back. And by the way, and again, you'll hear this anywhere you go. The Clydesdales are coming back for Budweiser this year, so that's an interesting thing as well.
Bring back the horses.
Bring back the horses, baby. So, Chip, perspective, and because this is where Friday's Finest blends. Give me your thoughts on this politically.
Yeah, look, I think Anheuser-Busch has done as good a job as they can do to manage the fallout from the Dylan Mulvaney scandal. And, do I think it's going to work? I mean, yeah, marginally. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't drink Bud Light. I've never really drank Bud Light. I drink Miller Lite and Michelob Ultra. I just haven't, I didn't grow up on Bud Light. I didn't leave the market because I was never in the market. But yeah, I think they've done a good job. And I think too, they, Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light became the poster child for conservatives and for the right. And in a global corporate, woke agenda. And they became the poster child for something different. So we're going to punish Bud Light. So Bud Light really took the brunt. Anheuser-Busch really took the brunt for all these other, woke campaigns that all these other companies are having without any consequence to them. And so, yeah, very smart to have Dana White at UFC, very smart to have Donald Trump. And I do believe their market share is picking back up. Will they ever get to the point they were before the scandal? I think it's going to take a long time, but time does heal wounds, and I think they've done some good things over the last 90 days to get there. but they still got some work to do. But as every day goes by, that scandal gets further and further away. And I think they realized, right when that Dylan Mulvaney scandal broke, that that was not, that really wasn't who their market. That wasn't their market share, right? Their market share was another group of individuals, and they learned that the hard way. And they're on the rebound for it. And I'm fine with it. I think they've spent their time in the penalty box. I think it was a stupid decision just from a business perspective. You don't have to have an MBA to kind of make that, declaration. And I think it's time, I think it's time that we move on.
Yeah.
Can I say something real quick?
What now, James?
Well, no, Chip mentioned something super interesting, and every company has now found the limit.
Yes.
Like you were saying that a bunch of companies had made some woke decisions that had no consequences, right? Which meant there was a limit for people. And Bud Light crossed the line for people. So now everybody knows what to do from here on out. And I'm sure 30 years down the road, we'll all laugh at this and be like, I can't believe we got mad at that. But I'm saying, like, that's every company now has been like, okay, now we know.
Now we know where the threshold is,
right? And now we don't ever have to make that mistake.
Yeah. Great point. We touched the iron. We touched the stove and realized, wow, it's hot. The old McLaughlin report, Chip. I know you remember it from the '80s. McLaughlin report. John will go around. I'm gonna do the McLaughlin report. My prediction here: Donald Trump is the endorsement of Bud Light or Bud Anheuser-Busch was the best thing that they could have with the very group that actually turned. There'll be a slow turning back to them. You won't hear it. It will go silent a great deal on social media. And that was all the other stuff was, what they needed to do. But it was I think it'll go back to the Donald Trump saying, hey, let them have a break. This is a good company. I've already seen it in some of the social influencers. Interesting point there, which also just speaks to the power that people, if you don't think Donald Trump can win in November, you're crazy. He can win in November. I mean, that's just a bottom line, especially with all the other problems. All right, let's turn it up. We got in the last few minutes here. We're now into prediction time as we go. First off, let's do this. Give me of what's up right now, Chip, then James. What's your favorite prop bet, and how would you take it for the weekend so far?
Oh, wow. Wow. I hate to do this, but my favorite prop bet of the Super Bowl is always the coin toss, right? Because it literally is a coin toss. I mean, it's the only time you can bet on a coin toss. I mean, how many times during the year do we discuss a game between teams and they're like, well, that's a coin flip. That's a coin flip. Now you really do get to bet on the coin flip. And, in the past, heads has overwhelmingly won the last 14 years, but tails has done really well the last couple of years. So it is an even bet right now, minus 115 to 115. I'm taking tails. And it always sets the mood for the Super Bowl because before the kickoff, I've already won a bet or I've lost a bet. So I enjoy betting on the coin toss because it's the only time of the year I can do such a thing.
I agree. All right. That's a good one. All right, James?
So since there's no fun ones out there, I'm going to give an actual good one based off a couple things, but the second half under. The second half under because for whatever reason, the Chiefs in the second half are shutting teams down.
Yes, they are.
And the Chiefs' offense has been hot garbage. So I'm going to go second half under, and I think you'll make actually a little bit of bucks on that.
All right, not a bad. I'm going to go sort of to the funny side of this. I'm going to go to the more off the wall prop bets, and that is the Travis Kelce proposing to Taylor Swift at the end of the game prop bet. And I'm going to go, no, it won't happen.
Absolutely
it's pretty safe.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty safe there, but it's out there. This is Chip. You said it right. This is the Super Bowl, literally, of sports betting. I mean, this is the game. Yeah. I tell you what will be now. You talk about it. I wonder if there's a parlay out there for this. The winner of one of the NBA games the winner of the Super Bowl, and the winner of the Daytona 500 the next weekend.
You bet your ass there is. Oh, well, the next weekend? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's out there.
It's a weekend away, but think about that. Could you imagine if you hit all three of those?
I bet if you walked up to a book in Vegas, they would take the bet because a parlay, the only thing a parlay is 3 bets. So if Vegas is taking bets, we know they're taking bets on the Super Bowl and the NBA games. So if they're taking bets on the winner of the Daytona 500, absolutely you can make a parlay with that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Also, I think one of the interesting bets that will get a lot. Chip, I agree with you with the flip of the coin. Also with that, but also it's the early in the game. It's the national anthem over under. Right now, it's 86.5 seconds. So you're looking at a little bit under a minute and a half. Reba's doing it. Reba saw what Chris Stapleton did last year. Although I initially said under, I'm gonna go. I think you need to go over on the Reba singing the national anthem. Yes, she does sing, James.
Wow.
I think Reba's going to hold those last notes. She's going to hold those last notes. All right. That gets us the prop bets. Now we get into the real business. All right. James, we'll go youth before age here. Give us your prediction for the Super Bowl. Kansas City or San Francisco?
I hate this so much. I'm going to get so much fear. San Francisco, Christian McCaffrey MVP.
So okay, San Francisco and McCaffrey MVP.
Yep.
All right, Chip.
Yeah, I'm going San Francisco, but it's close, man. I struggled all week with this. I mean, I don't like betting against Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, but I just think he squeezed as much as he can out of this team. It has been a great run in the postseason. They fixed a lot of the problems they've had on offense, but I just think the magic runs out. I mean, we've seen Taylor Swift, give Travis Kelce a joyful, tearful hug, and now I think we're going to get to see the inverse of the emotions. And I think Taylor Swift is going to give Travis Kelce a tearful hug because I think the 49ers pull it out. And look, the 49ers have really not been that sharp this postseason. They were fortunate to win the game against Green Bay. They were fortunate enough to win the game against Detroit. I think they come out sharp. And I think they win the game, but I think it's going to be a good Super Bowl. And I think anybody that's bought commercials in the fourth quarter is going to have a lot of people still watching.
Going to be interesting. All right, here's my prediction. I'm going against both of you. I think we're underestimating the Taylor Swift pixie dust. I think you're going to see Kansas City repeat, and I'm willing on this one to take and give 5.5. Yeah, I'm willing to give 5.5. Look, I just think what you said, Chip, is sort of solidified. San Francisco's been sharp. But they've not been that sharp. It's not been what you've seen what I've seen in the postseason toward the end of the year. They're not doing this upward movement. Kansas City, on the other hand, there's an upward movement. You're seeing them tighten up the holes that they had. They're playing better. Kelce's on a different level in the last game. I mean, which if they're going to win, they have to have him. Mahomes is back into that same sort of zone. The defense, James, you brought this up earlier. Second half defense on Kansas City, lights out. Lights out. And so, look, I think here it comes down to this. I think Super Bowls are many times decided by the quarterbacks. I like Brock Purdy a lot. I think he's going to be a great quarterback and continue to be. But if I'm put into that situation, as Chip said in the last fourth quarter, who do I want going down that field? Patrick Mahomes. And I think it could be tied going into the fourth quarter, and it could be a touchdown win for Kansas City. That's our predictions. We've got it all here. Lot going on today. We start off not remembering who we were to going who we're going to be for Sunday. Looking forward to this weekend. Thanks to the great analysis here today on Friday's Finest with Chip and James. Chip, I'll give you last word first.
Well, last word, a little bit longer today because I forgot to bring something up at the beginning when we were discussing Joe Biden. And this is going to be kind of a cross politics and sports tweet that the House Judiciary Committee sent out yesterday. This year in college football, there was one offense in Division I in a Power 5 conference that was head over heels a lot worse than any other Power 5 offense. Can you guys guess which offense that was?
Iowa.
The Iowa Hawkeyes. So the House Judiciary Committee this morning put out a tweet, and it says this: Joe Biden to his staff, we need to go on offense tonight. And the offense is the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Oh, my God. I've got to show that to our buddy Matt Whitaker. He will go nuts.
It is great. I mean, somebody at the House Judiciary Committee needs a raise, and that's what I got this week. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, James.
I got nothing left to say. Go Saints. Go 49ers.
Well, I think the flashbacks of the beer is out in James's system this morning, so we're doing that, folks. All I'll say is this: a lot of stuff happen. Have fun with family and friends. I mean, it's always a reminder. We've had some stuff going on in my household this week that always reminds you that not every day is given. Make sure that you always take and tell the ones you love that you love them. Tell the ones you appreciate them, because you never know what health-wise or anything else may come to be. And on a weekend like this, you've got the Super Bowl. You've got time to spend with friends. Make sure you do it. God bless y'all. We'll see you next time on Friday's Finest.